What's up, people? I am back. I will do the foreigner video. I promise, either tomorrow or Sunday. I'll get it in one of those days. But today, I will be. The reason I didn't do a video yesterday. Fucking loud ass plane. Sorry. I'm just gonna smoke them. Ooh, fucking shit passes. But anyway, so the reason I didn't do a video yesterday was because the Suicide Squad came out. Well, on HBO Max. So I watched it. And what I'm going to do right now is the video I'm going to do today is fixing Captain America 3. But I will get to that, but I'm going to set aside like maybe a few minutes or so, just basically like a mini review, because the Suicide Squad, I don't have like a super strong feeling one way or the other. So I don't really want to devote a whole video to it. So what I'm gonna do is just do a mini review of the Suicide Squad. So I'll put that in the comments too, so people don't get confused about the beginning of this video. It's supposed to be fixing Captain America 3. He's talking about Suicide Squad. So yeah. But yeah, the Suicide Squad was okay. I watched it last night. I guess I'll give the positives. I think the team dynamic was interesting. That opening 10 minutes was a fucking crazy. I'll admit it was fucking crazy. But the I guess I don't want to get into negatives right away. Another thing I liked Ratcatcher. I thought she was an interesting character. King Shark had some good kills. I think his character got a bit old. Um, Idris was cool, and spoilers. Rick Flag's death was well executed. I think some of the other deaths were too comedic for me at times, but I will say, and it's shot well. I think there's some cool shots. I don't think it's like obviously like the Snyder movies where they're like every frame is just like holy shit. It's not like that, but I think there's decent shots in this movie. Um, but I guess now to the CGI was decent, and I really like the gore. Like that, if I, because I'm a gore fiend, so I'm okay with good gore, even if even some of it was done just like a lot of the characters were disposable, and I think that kind of could be a negative for this movie. Is you can't get into anybody; they're gonna all die, and we know that. But okay, so I guess I'll get to the negatives now. It's I'm kind of, and it's not this movie's fault specifically, because I knew going in it was just gonna be an R-rated Guardians. Because I saw the trailer, I'm like, that's what this is gonna be. It's gonna be an R-rated Guardians, and I'm cool with people liking that, but I didn't want that because, god damn it. So I thought I'm just kind of over, because I did a video about this a few weeks ago where I talked about like humor in movies with a problem with it. It's not this movie's fault, but I'm just kind of over comic book movies like that, where nothing can be taken seriously. It's all a joke. I think Rick Flag's death, I'll admit, was they let it have a moment for a second, but then it's like immediately. And a lot of the humor was just cringe, like a '69 joke. Really, like I like James Gunn, but this just didn't do it for me in that department. I Cena got annoying. King Shark's like kind of playing like the dumb thing, kind of just was. I will. Another thing I didn't really like was I'm trying. I didn't like how they did Starro. I think Starro was wasted in this movie. he just felt like I get James Gunn was trying to make this movie like over the top, so Starro's like this crazy over the top kind of cartoony villain, so maybe that's what he felt like it fit, but he didn't need to be in this movie. Starro is a villain that fights the Justice League and he gets killed by a spear in the eye. You kidding me? Really? That's weak. I'll admit Starro looked good, like CGI wise, but I'm like he should have been saved for a Justice League movie. He honestly, I would have not made him the villain. I would have went with that general guy that Harley was with. He should have been like the main villain. I needed something grounded like that. Cause I actually like them going to the island, and that would have been cool. I think it could have been like a cool like break-in kind of thing. But instead, we got to do the over-the-top Starro, who was just wasted. I think he had some cool kills, I guess, but eh. But overall, I give this film a 6 out of 10. It's not horrible. It's a fine one-time watch for me. Unless, like, I think it could be a good group film. If I were to watch it with a group of friends, I would maybe do it. But I'm not going personally. I kind of prefer films that take themselves seriously, you know? If it wasn't like, I don't know. I just prefer, like, at least with comic book films. Because when I read comics as a kid, they took themselves seriously. Unless it was like a Deadpool comic. But that's not, I don't want every comic book film to be that. So I'm cool. I'm happy that there are people that love it, you know? But yeah, 6 out of 10. At highest would be a 6.5. I think the gore really does help it, and the team dynamic's decent. And I'll admit, I'm just over at this point, especially when you're not even gonna have her do anything with the Joker. Eh, I don't need her. But anyway, so that's my overall quick review of the Suicide Squad. So now to the actual point of the video. Last night, recorded a video about why I don't like Captain America: Civil War. So today I wanted to do like we're gonna try to fix it. And one of them I was gonna do what I'm doing now, where I'm gonna make it an actual Captain America 3. But another one was I was gonna try to use. Oh, maybe we could make that Civil War story work. But I was like, the more I thought about it, I'm just like, no, it didn't need to be Civil War. There was no reason that movie had to be Civil War. Marvel already had 5 years over DC because Man of Steel came out in 2013. They didn't have to do that. Let Batman and DC do Batman versus Superman. Marvel will be like, all right, we'll do our Captain America 3 because everyone loved Captain America 2. Winter Soldier. I wanted more of that, and then we just got this glorified Avengers film that made no sense and was such a step down from Winter Soldier. Major step down. So I'm gonna do a fixing, and I'm not gonna call it fixing Captain America Civil War because we're not doing the Civil War storyline. We're just gonna say fixing Captain America 3. Because the biggest issue was I wanted a Captain America 3 that kind of felt like a conclusion to the trilogy. Because Iron Man 3 does feel like, as much as it's not a great movie or even a good movie, Iron Man 3 kind of feels like a conclusion to the Iron Man movies, and Cap, they ended up just using, and you know what? They still use Tony. They just used him in team ups. I think you could have did the same with Cap. You could have did a proper Cap 3 that was a proper send off, not necessarily a send off, but a proper conclusion to that trilogy, and you cap it at a trilogy, and then you just use Cap in like the Avengers movies. I think that's all they had to do because Winter Soldier was so good, and then we get Civil War, and it doesn't even really feel like a conclusion because Civil War, honestly, if anything, kind of sets up Infinity War. It doesn't even feel like a conclusion to that trilogy. So now, what I'm gonna do with this fixing is I want to do that. I want to make it like this caps off this trilogy, and then you could just send Cap to Avengers films. So one of the big things is, yes, obviously we're getting rid of the Civil War storyline, but I think I'll keep no Ant-Man. Sorry guys, no Ant-Man, no Spider-Man. You could introduce Spider-Man another way. Honestly, could have just introduced him in an Avengers film. You could have just had us. You could have even if it felt contrived, you could have made up a way that Spider-Man was around, and then you introduce him in like Avengers. You could have introduced him in Infinity War or some other way. He didn't need to, because the Cap 3 I want to do. I want to don't want to have as much Avengers minus like Falcon, obviously, Bucky, and 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 Black Widow. Honestly, you could have that core group from Winter Soldier be in this one. Maybe you could squeeze in Hawkeye at some point, because I think Hawkeye could work, because the Captain America movies are largely, the first two are largely grounded. There wasn't like superpower. There was no aliens or anything like that. Winter Soldier especially, like that one felt very grounded. There was no superpowered beings in it. As you know, and then Cap 3, you just bring in all the Avengers. Like that's what I feel like. What made the Captain America movies were where they were grounded. You have the superpowered beings like in the other ones, and so I think that's what this should have been. I would have still went with Zemo, but we're making a Baron Zemo like from the comics, not this weird like. He hated Hydra, like, but he had all this. He should have just been Zemo. You have him have the mask, has a sword because that's what he does in the comics. He works for Hydra, and make him like he had an allegiance to Red Skull. So you could even do something where it's your own, where him and Red Skull were close, and then he heard about what happened to Red Skull after, the first Cap, and he wants revenge. That's what it should have been, and then he wants to get remnants of Hydra together. So that's really what the movie should have been. Maybe honestly, the one element is this should have been a rant. I should have mentioned this yesterday in the Civil War video. They had this whole little thing with the super soldiers, right? And they never did anything with it. They just had Zemo just shoot them in the fucking. Why? That should have been an element you introduced, and that's what I'm going to do in this one. There's this other super soldiers that Baron Zemo finds, and he decides, I'm going to use them as my own personal army. So maybe that's why you have to bring in Hawkeye, and maybe you could have a quick Iron Man cameo. And the other thing is, I want this film to largely be self-contained, because that's the other thing. The Captain America movies, especially those first two, and that second one especially, because that second one's post-Avengers. It felt very self-contained. Even with some of the other characters in it, it was self-contained. You needed more. I would have had a fucking. I would have even had a quick cameo from Nick Fury, because that should have been something I mentioned in my Civil War video. I should have mentioned yesterday too. Why the fuck wasn't Nick Fury there? Nick Fury. I'm gonna go on a quick side right here. Nick Fury was the one who brought them together. Why would he not have a? You should have had a scene between him and Tony, and then him and Cap to try to almost convince him not to fight. But no. But in my version, he's gonna be there, to kind of give secret intel, and that's kind of what it should have been. Because I really feel like Nick Fury's been largely after Winter Soldier, they just stop using him, and don't say he died, because he randomly shows up in Age of Ultron, but then never shows up again, besides quickly in the end of Infinity War. I don't even remember if he showed up in Endgame. Nick Fury is a character you needed to do more, so he should have been in this movie. He could have still acted like he was dead, but he's doing secret intel, and maybe he knows a lot about Baron Zemo. And there should have been more growth about. You could have had that little bit of that distrust with Bucky. Maybe the government doesn't fully trust Bucky yet. But, it should have been about that and Bucky trying to redeem himself. Because I feel like in Civil War, besides being, just there for he killed Tony's parents, Bucky doesn't have a meaningful story. The only meaningful thing I think he's really done is Winter Soldier, in my opinion. That's it. He kind of just. He's only there just as kind of a plot device because Tony's parents. That's it. It should have been about Bucky almost he wants to redeem himself, and this is where you have Bucky kind of slowly start being a hero and wanting to move away from that Winter Soldier persona. That's what it should have been about. I think there should have been a major death. You could have killed. Maybe not Hawkeye or Black Widow, because they already killed Black Widow in the end, but Maybe Falcon. I'm sorry, Falcon to me. I get people like that character, but imagine like a scene where Baron Zemo kills him, and then you have an amazing fight in the end. You have Bucky and Cap versus Zemo, like Baron Zemo, and maybe like you have a sequence where they're fighting the super soldiers and stuff. Like that's what it should have been. Have different locations like Winter Soldier did, and just have it be a darker tone. Not super dark. You can still have your moments of humor, but it needed to be something like that, like a true continuation of the Winter Soldier. I mean, I know my thumbnail is gonna say Serpent Society because I just pulled that image, but no, I'm not actually gonna go with the Serpent Society. It's just gonna be Captain America 3. You know, like, but Zemo should have been more like the one from the comics, and this feels like a conclusion. You have Cap beat, but you finally obviously have Cap beat Zemo in the end, and it just kind of sets it ends in a way. You know, a funeral for Falcon, and maybe this is where you can have your Tony cameo, and then this is where maybe it sets up like yo, and then you could have the post credit scene be Cap and Tony talking, and then Tony fills them in about Thanos, or there's something coming, like something like that sets up clearly is gonna set up Infinity War. There was no need to break them apart. I even have always believed that. It never made sense to me. Like, yeah. But that is my fixing on Captain America 3. Make it a traditional, an actual true conclusion to that Cap trilogy. You bring in actual Baron Zemo, not this weird Zemo that just hates the Avengers for no reason, really, and then just as a plot convenience. He should have been like Zemo from the comics, and his main arc is he wants revenge on Cap, and he wants to try to like also maybe restore Hydra, type of deal. Find some stuff about Bucky's past. Bucky's arc is he wants to be a hero. You have Black Widow, and honestly, I know they tease Black Widow and Hulk, but they kind of drop that anyway. I would have just went all the way and have it be maybe you have a scene with another meaningful scene between him and Natasha. Like there should have been something like this feels like a big storyline coming to a close. Big final battle in the end. You know, the super soldiers against while Cap and Bucky are fighting Zemo. Falcon. This is maybe where Falcon sacrifices himself or something. Falcon and Natasha, and this is where you can also have Hawkeye taking on the super soldiers. And Falcon sacrifices himself in a way, but Cap blames Zemo. Cap and Bucky beat Zemo, and then the film ends with a funeral for Sam. So that's kind of how I want to go with this Captain America 3. But yeah, we should never have gotten a Civil War. I even said in the video, you could have did Civil War now. Now that they have all the characters now, like they own Disney owns Spider-Man, and they have the X-Men. You could have actually done an actual Civil War now. There was no need to do it when it almost just felt like a half-ass. Let's BVS 70, so we got to do it. There was no need. The Cap 3 I mentioned, or even like what a legitimate Captain America 3 should have happened. Not because now I can't even really call the Cap movies a trilogy, because Civil War doesn't feel like a trilogy, an ending to a trilogy. Like Dark Knight Rises or not, that concludes the trilogy. Iron Man 3, not great, but concludes the trilogy in a way. But Iron Man, then they just started using him in solo stuff. You could have did the same with Cap. You have this movie end, doesn't mean you end the character. You could still have Cap continue on in the Avengers movies. That's all it really need to be. But like this could have been like that legit third film. Anyway, I just want to give my ideas on that. I'm probably gonna Sunday, gonna do a video about Foreigner. But other than that, nothing really much. I'm probably next week there's gonna be fixings, and I'll figure out a movie to review too. But other than that. But as usual, fuck Kevin Smith, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck La Bitch James, fuck James Mangold. Talk to y'all tomorrow or Sunday. Peace.